So I like Christmas, and I like Warhammer. So we're doing this. Yes, as you read that title, making Santa Claus into a Primarch, because we are close to the holidays, and I haven't really done a Christmas video, say, for the early one where I talked about, like, Christmas favorites. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to, like, make a whole lore around making Santa Claus into a Primarch. And this video's not going to be serious. Let's get that out of the way. So let's get started. So the story, our story begins after Erda throws her children into the Immaterium to keep them away from the Emperor. And yes, this Primarch we're following is the lost second son of the Emperor. He lands on a planet called North Polaris, a distant, icy world that is almost a death world. It can almost be considered a death world because of how cold it is. It's even believed to be colder than Fenris. But Claus is not the baby, who will one day be named Claus, will not be found by humans, but instead a lost tribe of Eldar. You see, these versions of the Eldar are much like the Exodites, only instead of going to a maiden world that was fresh and beautiful and you know, full of life, this one was the North Polaris was originally a maiden world, but it became the environment changed rapidly. Like, the environment of the planet was not kept well, and it became like a frozen ice age. But the Exodites there were like, we found it, we might as well stay. So these Eldar Exodites evolved to be more like capable of the snow. So they immediately found the baby, named it Claus, and realized it's not human. There's something wrong. There's something different with it. But rather than kill it, the Exodites decided to raise the child, name him Claus, Claus of Clan Kringle. And Claus Kringle was raised among the Eldar Exodites. However, since he was raised by Eldar, that allowed him to tap more into his psyker abilities. They allowed him to use the planet and this maiden world's inherent psyker enhancing abilities and allow them to control them. It isn't like with Klaus's other brothers, where they didn't really give a chance to fully control it in most cases. Here, since he was raised by beings who understand the webway and other abilities, he learned to focus it at an early age. Of course, as a Primarch, Claus was, able to grow strong, big, all of that. He learned to live off of the land. He learned to also respect nature. But Claus also had a fondness for children. Claus always had a soft spot for children, even leading his Exodite clan and making sure the children were safe from any harm done by the massive wildlife that existed there. However, Claus did have an ability to connect with some animals, and some were these massive deer-like creatures. It isn't like the other Eldar Exodites where it's very dinosaur-like. Here, the animals that existed on this maiden world were more like Ice Age animals. So you had animals that resembled woolly mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and giant elk-like creatures. One of which he named Rudolph because it exhibited a lot of psyker energy that it came through his nose. I told you we're not being serious here. Let's keep going. So he bonded with those deer, and they also had the ability to fly. It allowed him to give aerial coverage and allow him to transport resources to his clan. However, that all changed when one day the planet fell under siege by a demonic entity, a demon prince named Krampus. So Krampus, the demon prince, and his demonic horde arrived on North Polaris and waged war on the Exodites, believing that this planet could help open a further rift into the Immaterium and allow the Chaos Gods to come through. Of course, Claus stood ready with axe in hand to do battle with Krampus. Krampus also had a desire to ravage and harm children. He relished in giving pain to the innocent, and none are more innocent than children. Well, of course, Claus didn't really care for that, so in doing so, Claus did battle with Krampus in a bloody battle that decimated chunks of the planet. But, however, Claus, using all of his might, banished Krampus back to the Immaterium. In doing so, it opened up a way for his battle was so great that it actually drew the attention of the Emperor, who was looking for his lost sons during the Great Crusade. Once Claus met his father, the God Emperor was like, I'm going to kill, like, you were raised by Xenos, this was not your way. So he and the legions that were there prepared to slaughter the Exodites that existed there. But once his blade tried to come down, the axe of Claus blocked it, and Claus, knowing though that this was his father, denounced him and proclaimed that he was no father, and he shall defy him till his end. So the Emperor was like, bet, and proceeded to decimate the planet and strike the second son from the records. And in doing so, he did battle with Lehman Russ, his brother. Claus and Lehman did battle since he was the Emperor's executioner. But Lehman and the Exodites managed to escape with the help of a passing Eldar craft world. The planet of North Polaris was scarred, but it could survive. So after a long while of hiding in the webway, they returned to North Polaris, and it was there that, using his power, he managed to find and locate the remnants of his legion that were not killed by Russ's Space Wolves. And those Space Marines were given the name the Merry Men, or the Merry Gentlemen, if you will, because God rest ye merry gentlemen. So the Merry Gentlemen were a group of Space Marines that were more than capable of Arctic combat. They were all built for deep, harsh weather conditions. As their father, used his power to breathe new life into his sons. Now, let's talk about that. What kind of power does Klaus Kringle have as a Primarch, since he was able to tap into the Immaterium and his Psyker abilities? He is incredibly fast. He is given blinding speed. Some would say you couldn't even see him. He's also has what is called the Sight Beyond, which allows him to see all across the Immaterium, much like Heimdall of Norse mythology. It allows him to see anyone, whether they be sleeping or awake, or good or bad. So be good for goodness sake. It allowed him to especially watch over his Exodite tribe. Klaus's other abilities allowed him to move, like I said, at blinding speed and control blizzards and have ice-like abilities. He basically could also travel between the webway in incredible speed, much faster than even the Eldar could, and allowed him to go between different worlds in order to protect other Eldar and not just other Eldar worlds, but also planets of the Imperium or the Tau, or other even Orc worlds that fell under attack by what he considered the naughty ones. So Klaus, abandoned by his father, no longer at the Imperium's beck and call, Klaus set out to be a force for good in this grim, dark reality. In doing so, Klaus and his Merry Gentleman Legion set out to protect the innocent of the universe, regardless if they are human or Xeno. He would make sure that they were safe, and even would leave gifts for children as he traversed the webway and fought back against the forces of chaos. And he would do this all, some would say he would traverse the entire galaxy in a single day. So, there you go. That is the story of Klaus, the second Primarch, and Santa Primarch. So like I said, this was just a fun story I wanted to do for the holidays, since, you know, I've got Warhammer brain rot, might as well. But you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of making Santa into a Primarch? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. And how would you make Santa into a Primarch? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the chapter master of the, you know, of the Merry Gentleman. The chapter master's name was Yukon Cornelius. There you go. So there you go, guys. Hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.